What's up, everybody? This is Alex with Comic Book Historians. Today we're going to do a comic book flip-through of an issue of Fast Willie Jackson. Now, Bertram Fitzgerald published Fast Willie Jackson in 1976 with Archie artist Gus Lemoine. Gus Lemoine wanted to put more people of color into the Archie universe, but according to Fitzgerald's interview with comic book historian William H. Foster III, the publisher rejected that idea. So Gus Lemoine and Bertram Fitzgerald teamed up to make the Fast Willie Jackson series, which had an Archie style of aesthetic, but was set in a far more diverse city and district. Now, Gus and Bertram had a shared mutual vision in creating a diverse four-color funny book. This was actually really funny to readers who were able to get the comic. Unfortunately, it faced limitations as far as distribution difficulties, as well as difficulties in advertising. But let's do a little flip through and look at this comic together. Now, if you see here, we have issue number 5. We can see that there is the Fast Willie Jackson type logo on the top. We can see it says Fitzgerald Periodicals Inc. 1977. And you can see that it's a diverse crowd. You actually have people of color here, as well as Caucasians, kind of all hanging out. You actually see the star of the book, Fast Willie Jackson, in both areas. And he's getting along with a local policeman, and you can see actually the names of them. You can see Gus Lemoine's signature, or signature as far as the cover here. And if you turn it around, you can kind of see what all their names are. You see that that's Fast Willie Jackson. You have someone named Jose Martinez, Sister Zola, Hannibal, Miss Jane Fonda. Jane Fonda was on the news a lot in the 70s. And Jabbar, Frankie, Dee Dee. The cop is named Officer Flag, so maybe he is a symbol of the establishment in some way. And then Maria Martinez. So pretty cool. Jose, I think, runs the local eatery, and we're going to see that in the comic. And you can see that you can order more. Here it's Fitzgerald Periodicals Inc. So I think it was suffering from distribution issues, because you would actually have to kind of get it like as if a fanzine would advertise this way. Now let's go into the first page, and we can see that it has like this Archie Jughead type short comedic story here. So you have Fast Willie in Tall Fall. I want a piece of the rock. And that's the hammer about to hit the rock with a nail. That's great. And then you see that they're in the river. Where are you going, Willie? I'm getting out of here, Jojo. A simple lookout would do, Willie. So clearly Jojo is upset that Willie didn't look out for him. I think that's hilarious. Now, let's go to the actual story. So this is interesting because you have the house. You can see the couch, the kind of TV they have. It's really dated as far as 1977, which makes it a lot of fun. Look at the lamp. It's got some interesting designs here. And they're looking at the photo album, and Willie's asking his dad, hey, what are you looking at? And this is a cute story because, I like looking at the, the indices. It says Fitzgerald Periodicals Inc. here. And for advertising rates, contact the publisher. So clearly there was, and you see the phone number here. So clearly he needed advertising and was asking for advertising. And but you can see that they're talking about his uncle and that he was a very strange cat. And one day he got very sick, they're saying about his uncle. And on his deathbed, they're saying that his uncle would disappear a bunch of times. And they wanted to find out what was the great mystery, where would you go? And he said, well, come closer, nephew, and I'll tell you. And he goes, yeah, Pops, what'd he say? What? And he says, well, he couldn't say. He passed away at that very moment. And so they're like, wow, tough break. I wonder why he disappeared for so long. And so then Fast Willie says, well, I guess we'll never find out. And Hannibal says, well, we can find out. We're going to make a long-distance call. And he's like, well, what are you talking about? And he says, well, we're going to go visit Sister Zola, and she's going to talk to the dead and find out. We're going to ask your uncle himself directly. And so it's kind of a fun setup for a short story, kind of dealing with the supernatural a little bit, but it's a little bit of a con job, because it looks like here that Sister Zola, hey, we want to talk to Willie's great uncle Bob. And he says, well, beat it, make your phone calls at home. He says, well, this is long distance, all right, because he's dead. Oh, okay, well, yeah, sure, for $10. And he says, $2, sister. And then she says, okay, right, like I said, $2. All right. So what do you want to find out? And they wanted to find out where his great uncle disappeared to when he'd leave home. And so then she says, Sister Zola will help you. We're going to wait for my granddaughter to come back. And so then Hannibal looks like he's talking to Jabbar, saying, hey, we're going to have a seance. And it's interesting, he's holding this sign that says jobs. So that's interesting. There's like interesting little statements in the background. In fact, you can see that they have a Jewish delicatessen in the background. Se habla Yiddish. So it's kind of a Spanish Yiddish kind of mixture in this story. It's a multicultural story, because it's kind of like they're trying to recreate like a real New York setting, which is a lot of fun. You see the cop seems pretty harmless here, kind of walking by, keeping his eye on everybody. So not sure what that means. And then looks like Sister Zola is like, well, we got a tape recorder. We are about to fake this great uncle and make some quick cash from Fast Willie. And so she says, well, you're not going to fool my friends, are you, Grandma Zola? And she's like, no, it's just a little fun. And so is spending the money that she's going to make off these people for being so gullible. And okay, Zola, where's his great uncle? Let's make him talk. So they have the seance, and they hear a voice, and he's like, is that really you, Uncle Bob? Where would you disappear to? And he'd say, Willie, my wife Blossom was the ugliest monster on this earth. I left home to give my eyes a rest from that horrible sight. Here's a picture of her. And you see that, I guess Fast Willie's reaction is enough of a reaction. He says, well, she's worse than ugly. And so it looks like that answers that. That's why his great uncle would disappear for a long time. And Zola is saying, well, something's kind of strange. I didn't have that voice on my tape recorder. Where did that picture come from? So Sister Zola is thinking, wow, maybe that was a real seance we just did. But it turns out it was a prank from her granddaughter. So that's the punchline. So sometimes it's not the punchline that's the greatest. It's the journey getting there. This one's kind of cute. So you can see that we have Fast Willie in Washed Out. And it's a short one page, a lot like the Archie and Jughead comics. And you can see here, look, he has these little inanimate objects kind of talking in the beginning of some of these. So it says, you're a drip, says to the drippy faucet. So that's kind of funny. So it looks like we have Fast Willie, and he's buying some shampoo from the local store. And it's from looks like a pretty blonde girl here, and they're getting along pretty well. And says, yeah, this is good for dandruff, this shampoo. He goes, well, I don't have dandruff. And she says, well, that's no problem. It comes with a free pack of dandruff. So that's interesting, that this dandruff shampoo would actually come with dandruff. So you can put it in your hair, wash it out. I think that's funny. So now we got the next story. And this is interesting because now we have more of this Jewish delicatessen that we saw in the background of the previous story. And Fast Willie's with his grandpa, and looks like he's got a hearing aid. And then you see Solomon's Kosher Cuisine at its finest. So you can see there's actually a good amount of representation, we're saying, of life in New York. It's actually, I'm finding this really interesting. So he says, what? Shalom, shalom. And then Willie's grandpa says, well, go home, someone on the phone. So there's clearly issues with his hearing. And he keeps interpreting the wrong thing. And so, Mr. Solomon, you'll have to excuse my grandpa. His hearing isn't too good. Well, I understand, Willie. He'll get a good hot meal. Well, let's see. What's good today? Try my liverwurst. What? His liver's the worst? Or have my corned beef hash. Willie, he said the corned beef is trash. Maybe we shouldn't eat here. And so then the owner's getting a headache from trying to deal with the customers today. Looks like it's a stressful day. And then he says that people are staring. I hope nobody hears his Fast Willie's grandpa saying bad things about the menu or about him. And so he says, well, it would be a free meal if he'd only keep quiet. And then he says, oh, a free meal, isn't that nice? And then the owner says, so that he hears. And you see he took his hearing aid out. So maybe that's interesting. It's like, is that a scam or what? It's pretty funny. Okay. Now, this one I think is actually a funny story because it's got a dark sense of humor. So it looks like Fast Willie and Hannibal are in a story called The Devil You Say. And they're in Louisiana, in the Bayou of Louisiana, which I love. And he says, well, Hannibal says, look, this is Creole and Cajun country. And I love Louisiana. They got good food down there. And insect country, alligator country, snake country. There's plenty to be worried about, in the bayou. So it looks like there's a clearance. Let's make camp. The wood is damp. I can't start a fire. Look, there's a house over there. All right. So they go to this strange house, and it's called Franklinstein Estates. Franklinstein Estates, something tells me I won't like it. This place looks kind of weird. And look, you got the old door knock thing that's really loud. And he goes, yes, may I help you, monsieur? So I think the monsieur is like this French Cajun background. And he says, well, we're looking for some dry wood, but don't bother. We'll manage. We're out of here. And he goes, no, don't be frightened. My name is Dr. Franklinstein. And this is my assistant, Igor. And Igor looks like straight up out of the Haunt of Fear or the Vault of Horror from the 50s, like one of those characters, drooling at the mouth. And he says, well, some people call me a mad doctor. Well, nice meeting you, doctor, but we should be going. Wait, don't you want to see what I do in my cellar first? Well, not today, Hannibal says. It's getting dark, and he says, well, I don't make monsters like most people think. You don't? No, of course not. I make liquids. And Hannibal's like, liquids? Out of what? And then Igor says, people. And he's drooling and looking pretty strange. And he says, well, you've heard the expressions, go soak your head or you make my blood boil. And my favorite, that's water under the bridge. Well, your bones are just what I need to complete my collection. Igor, prepare the operating room. Yes, master. He's got the axe. He's drooling. And then the doctor says, come back or I'm all washed up. I guess evidently because he wants to turn them all into liquid. I don't know why, but that makes me laugh, especially and as I'm prompted to on the bottom of that last panel. So there's a bit of a laugh track effect, I think, which I think in the 70s they had a lot of laugh tracks on TV. Then you see the kind of the fan letters pages called Write On, which is actually really clever. I like that. And you can see different people enjoying it. I really dig your comic book. I like the characters and the clothes they wear. The clothes are really neat, and Dee Dee is really cool. Give the guy a raise who draws her and the others. I'm hoping to get all of your comic books. I wish you great success in the future with more comic books. I'm 11 years old, and I have brownish black hair. Maria Djurdjevic in Bay Minette, Alabama, I think. So maybe it did get distributed to a few places, it looks like. And you can get your next issue. And you just can mail letters to this address, Fitzgerald Publications, 527 Madison Avenue. And then you see an advertisement for the Golden Legacy Illustrated Book Series, and they have different sets, and one, of course, on Dr. Martin Luther King. And I think these Golden Legacies were actually made by Bertram Fitzgerald, who published this very same comic, because you can see the address is the same, 527 Madison, and not sold on newsstands. And so it looks like he was basically promoting his own stuff, which he should. Steranko did the same thing in a lot of his publications. I think that's smart. And, if he's not going to promote Black History illustrated books, then who will? So, especially in the 70s, although they had some awareness in the 70s, I think. But it's better to promote your own product, especially ones as good as these. And the Golden Legacy books are actually famous. People should look into those. All right, so this one's kind of funny. Tickets now on sale. You see that they're at a local restaurant, and I think this one's actually funny because you see Dee Dee is hitting on Frankie here, and he's all well dressed. He's sparkling. He's clearly an object of desire, and she says, "Well, why don't you take me to the soul concert at the school gym next week?" And he says, "Well, would you like me to take you?" She says, "You know it, baby." He goes, "Well, I'm available." She says, "Dynamite," which is like in that Good Times TV show. "I'll get the tickets tomorrow." All right. And so now, yeah, this is, I think, Mr. Let's look at the name, because there's a legend on the back, and that's Jose Martinez, and then that's Maria Martinez. So we have here, "Why do you throw yourself so much at Frankie?" And then she says, "Well, Frankie is very shy, Jose. He had a very unhappy childhood." And she says, "Unhappy?" Or Jose says, "Unhappy childhood?" "Well, his father is a very wealthy man. They live in the biggest house in Mo City." She says, "Yes, but he was an only child. He didn't have a brother and sister." And Jose's looking at the viewer like, what's that supposed to mean? "Oh, I should be so deprived." And she says, "Well, he's sensitive. He's not able to ask girls for dates. But with his looks and money, he doesn't have to," Jose says. And Fast Willie says, "Dee Dee, could you?" And she says, "Cool it, turkey." And look, Jose's feeling concerned. Maria's feeling concerned. "Why do you talk to Willie that way? He's probably sensitive." And she says, "Willie? He's not sensitive. He had 3 brothers and 2 sisters. So there's no way he's sensitive." And Jose's like, "Well, that makes no difference." And also, probably the bottom line is, and Willie is not as fine as Frankie either. So there you go. And Maria's smiling, so maybe she's relating to that. And not only that, but if I went out on a date with Willie, who would Frankie have? And there are mucho girls around. No problem. And look, there's a lot. And this is the Spanish Main. Again, this is a multicultural comic. So we have people of Hispanic descent in this. And maybe if it's New York, maybe in the Puerto Rican manner. And he says, "Well, those dogs out there, they're not for Frankie. They're all boy crazy." And Jose says, "And you want to look out for him, right?" And she says, "Well, right on, I do. He's my main man." And he says, "Well, you and about 20 other girls." She goes, "No way." But he says, "Well, like we say in Spanish, vaya con Dios." I like it. So they're throwing in some language in these. I remember Nightcrawler would do that in the X-Men. I like stuff like that. And so guess who's back, Dee Dee? And can you get 2 more tickets for the concert, Dee Dee? 2 more? Well, I just spoke to Helen and Tina, and they've never been to a concert with me. We can't let them down. Watch it now, Dee Dee, Jose says. He's very sensitive. So again, this is funny stuff. I love the humor that's in this. So we got another one here. Fast Willie and Turkey Burger. Gobble, gobble. So that's good because it's a turkey burger, but gobble like you want to eat that burger. See, again, inanimate objects with word balloons. Genius. Dad's out today. What's your order, Willie? Well, hi, Maria. How's that cheeseburger special today? I don't know. Let's find out. Pepe, ¿cómo está el cheeseburger hoy? It says, El cheeseburger. El cheeseburger? Ha 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 ha. And he says, Pepe says it's excellent today, Willie. So probably because maybe they don't actually offer the cheeseburgers there anyway. Maybe it's a Spanish joint. Maybe that's what's going on there. But it looks like the cop, for some reason, is all disturbed. I don't know why that is. All right, so let's go to the next one. All right, so then help, murder police. This is outside of the Spanish Main where Jose and Maria work. And that bird is driving me crazy. Simple Simon says, hands on head. And Jose says, well, my brother's out of town and left his trained parrot with me. It's nothing but trouble. Jose is such a cute complainer. I think it's cute. Hi, beautiful. How about a kiss? So it looks like the bird's hitting on the girl, and she thinks it's Fast Willie. So she smacks him on the head, maybe with her purse, and she calls him a turkey. So she thought he was being disrespectful. Wow, Willie, that bird is a real troublemaker. Well, here's your steak and potatoes, Willie. My what? I didn't order that. Well, don't kid me, Willie. I heard you order when I was in the kitchen. So Willie's upset because the bird framed him again. So it looks like the bird keeps framing people. Well, you'll have to help me pay for this, Jojo. Okay, man, but I'll have to help you eat it too. It's for you, Willie. It's Dee Dee. Who wants to talk to that skinny bones? Huh? Hello, Dee Dee. Let me explain. Skinny bones, am I? Click. So it looks like the bird framed him again. I'm a nice, kind, gentle person, Jojo. My parents taught me good manners. They said, have patience, be understanding, and never lose your temper. But this is it. Come out from behind that booth, you jive-time turkey. I'm going to wring your neck. Whoa, this buff guy comes out. You talking to me, sucker? And Fast Willie goes, gleep. So he's worried about what's about to happen next. How's this, baby cakes? And socks him right in the face. So looks like this bird is trouble. Keeps framing Willie, and Willie is either bleeding money, bleeding friends, or straight up bleeding on the ground. Is there a doctor in the house? I give up, man. That bird is a disaster. Well, I think I know how to handle this, Willie. And so they put barbecue chickens in front of the bird, and that bird looks like he's afraid for his life now. He goes, Jojo, you're a genius. That should keep him quiet from now on. Peace. Which I love. I love that there's a little tendency toward dark humor in some of these. Again, I think this is genius. I think Bertram Fitzgerald and Gus Lemoine made a beautiful comic series here. So I highly encourage everybody to go out and find one if you can on eBay or wherever. They're hard to get, but they're worth getting. Looks like the last page here, you got Jabbar's puzzle page. And this is cool. You have some Trivial Pursuit, some puzzles, some activities. You have answers on the bottom. So Steranko did that in Foom. He would put little puzzles in there. So I love how Bertram had this setup going with Gus Lemoine. And then you have the back with the legend. And if you enjoy what you see and the different superstars of the Fast Willie Jackson comics, then order more. So again, I wish this comic had gone on forever and ever. I love what's going on in it. And I think you can learn a lot just by reading this stuff and seeing the different independent comics that came out at a time when it was hard for independent comics to thrive. It wasn't the 80s yet. They didn't have a direct market. They were kind of relying on distribution, newsstands, and maybe there were some issues with distribution as far as prejudice. I'm not sure on the details, but it'd be good to find out more if we could. All right, stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed this comic book flip through at Comic Book Historians.